My name is Kylie McCormick. I am the president of the Casper League of Women Voters, and it's an honor to be hosting this candidate forum along with the Natrona County Library. We are absolutely delighted to have you all attend, and we're also recording online, so definitely check that out if there's anything that you missed. We have a couple of candidates who were unable to be here tonight. Kiana Smith from Ward 1, Michael McIntosh from Ward 3. We've also got Matthew Larson and Gabrielle Tullis, who also were unable to be here. But the great news is that with the League of Women Voters, we are doing an online voter guide, vote411.org. You'll be seeing these around town. We also have some posters so that you can put up in your yard or yard signs that you can put up if you want to spread the news with these QR codes. And this is going to take you to our online voter guide where you can find out more about these candidates and their positions. And with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to our wonderful moderators tonight, Joanne Chu and Beth Worthen. Thank you both for being here. And also, one last thing, if you have any questions that you want to have asked tonight, we have some note cards. Yep, thank you. We have some note cards in the back there. You can fill those out. I'll be sitting in the back. Go ahead and hand them to me, and I'll run them up to our moderators here. Thank you so much.
Okay, we are going to just introduce how the format of tonight's forum is going to go. Thank you for coming tonight, and thanks to those who are watching on YouTube. Appreciate your participation in this process. So we're going to start it off with the candidates each having 1 minute and a half, to introduce yourselves. And then we're going to, once we're done with that, and we have 2 mics. So one mic will kind of be with this group and another mic with this group, if you can kind of pass it along. And then we're gonna go into the questions. We're gonna kind of mix things up a little bit in that we're gonna vary long form questions and short form questions. So for the long form questions, you'll be given a minute to answer that. Now you don't have to take that full minute. In fact, that just gives more time for more questions. So feel free to not take the amount of time if you don't wish to. The short form questions will be 30 seconds. We like to say, keep it to like a sentence. And we've got librarians here to check your grammar as to whether that's an actual sentence or not. No dangling participles, please. So we'll go back and forth between those 2 forms. And then at the very end, we're going to give you a minute, 1 minute, to make any final statements. Betsy is our timekeeper, so she has 2 cards. The yellow card, just like in soccer, will signify that half of your time has expired, and then the red card is time to cut you off. And Joanne and I use our mom voices when we cut you off, so you don't want to kind of push us on that. What have I forgotten, Joanne?
Thank them.
Oh, you think?
We'd like to thank you all for attending. We do appreciate you taking time. I think having the municipal offices here is a good reminder to voters that you all will be on the candidate or on the ballot in the primary election. So, and as just a reminder, twice as many candidates come through as our seats open. So thank you all for being here tonight.
Okay, then we'll kick things off. We're going to start at this end, and then we'll work our way down. When we go to the next question, it'll be the next person, and then we'll just rotate through. So the person who starts that next question, they will end. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Don't worry, Joanne and I have done this a time or 2, so we'll keep you on track. So we'll just start with candidate Sweeney and introducing yourself, and you have a minute and a half. Go ahead.
Thank you, League of Women Voters, for putting this on. Appreciate it. My name's Pat Sweeney, and I moved here in 1979. Moved around the state for work, and have over 40 years of business experience, and 6 years in the Wyoming legislature. And I am interested in serving on the city council because I believe I can bring some different perspectives on the state and just in general, I think we could use a little help in certain areas, so would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for hosting this. My name is Ross Schriftman. I'm running in Ward 2, which goes from Poplar West all the way past Robertson. So it's a big geographical area. For 50 years, I have been a licensed insurance agent, self-employed. I focus on Medicare supplement and long-term care insurance. I also spent 7 years as a field auditor for the Auditor General's Department in Pennsylvania. I am also the author of a book called My $1 Million Mom, which chronicles my mother's life and the time I took care of her at the end of her life when she had Alzheimer's. I also wrote the book, or the screenplay, and the produced the movie, My $1 Million Mom. We have in our Pledge of Allegiance that we are a republic. We are a constitutional republic. Our founders decided that we should have a vision of limited government. And the role of local government is to provide public safety, infrastructure, open space like parks. And that's one of the things three things that I'm going to focus on, including looking at all the ordinances that we have and seeing if there's some duplications. And I'm going to ask the public, if I have the honor of being elected, to share that opportunity with me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Amber Pollock. I'm running for re-election for Casper City Council representing Ward 1. I've served just about one full term on the Casper City Council, and it's been a real honor over the last nearly 4 years to represent the folks of Casper. I was born here, I grew up here, went to school here, and have been a business owner now in this community for about 10 years. I really started getting involved in the community and then later into politics, working to get youth involved and trying to help solve the problem of youth outmigration in this state. And that's really kind of when I got bit by the bug, I guess you could say, to be involved and try to participate in my community in a variety of ways. And so that's you know, sort of what led me to running for office in the first place. I think over the last several years, the strengths that I brought to the council are I think I'm a big picture person, and sometimes, you know, you got to have both types of people, big picture person, people and small detail people, and I've been able to bring that big picture, seeing the holistic issues to the council. I've been able to communicate effectively with all of our stakeholders and represent the community well, and I've been able to collaborate really well with my counterparts and the city staff to synthesize information, ask good questions, to make sure that we have the information we need when we're making decisions. So it has really been a real learning experience for me, and I would talk to you later.
Hi everyone, my name is Marsha Newmiller and I'm running for City Council, Ward 3. My ward runs all of East Casper from Beverly Street all the way east, and then we also have that small section in the back by Sagewood Elementary in the back. I am running because it is time for me to step forward and represent my friends, my family, and my neighbors in shaping and keeping Casper as a safe and beautiful place to live. I have worked as a paralegal in Casper for the past 14 years. My legal training is going to help me foresee and help navigate legal situations that are faced by the council. My focus and interest of each decision that I make on the city council will be that my children and future generations inherit a city that we will all be proud of, and they will want to stay and raise their families. And I want to thank the League of Women Voters Wyoming, for hosting us tonight, and I appreciate your vote. Thanks.
My name is Dawn Madrid. I'm running in Ward 1. I moved to Wyoming back in 1991 to get away from the wind in Denver, Colorado. You know how that worked. Anyway, I have a question for everybody. Does one adult have the right to tell another adult what to do with their life? I want you to think about that. Because as we vote, when we go to the polls, we're giving up our responsibility and rights to other people who will be making decisions that are supposed to be made based on what the people got them into office to do. And I think our government's gone a little bit overboard on what they're doing and the way they want to control people. So decided I better step up to the plate and have a voice in the matter, and that's what I'm here to do. Thank you very much.
You ready for me? All right. Thanks everyone for showing up tonight. My name's Kyle Gamroth. I'm currently a representative in Ward 2 and like Councilor Pollack running for re-election. Apologies for my tardiness tonight. I also was born, raised, and grew up here. I spent a couple years away when I went to university in Laramie, so 3 years in Laramie, and I came back with my bachelor's in psychology degree. I've worked at WBI, Central Wyoming Counseling Center, short time at Natrona County Public Health Department doing substance abuse and,
Do you want to switch?
Oh, we pass it on here.
Thank you. Got me? Got me? Perfect. I get that time back, right?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So yeah, I got my bachelor's in psych, and I spent the first several years of my professional career working in mental health, and so I feel like I bring that perspective to council, especially in regards to topics like homelessness or youth violence. And then after that, I've worked at several different marketing agencies. Used to be called AdBay, now it's Kalin Marketing, I think is how you pronounce that, and then also Loom Studio, so I bring a marketing background. I believe that's come in helpful when we've redesigned the city's website and allocated more funding to do better with community engagement and outreach. And so I feel like I have a very diverse background. As Councilor Pollack mentioned, she's a big picture gal. I'm actually kind of the opposite. I'm more detail oriented. I take great pride in reading all of our work packets that we get available to us and reading all of our emails. I stay very engaged in the community and attend a lot of stakeholder and community interested events. I'm thinking town halls in regards to the gravel pits, the Blue Heart Collective that are organizing around youth violence. I try to stay very in touch with those folks. I don't have circles that I run in. I like to reach out and connect with lots of different people in the community, and so hopefully I'm representing them well in council, and looking forward to talking more this evening.
Hi, I'm Lisa Ingebretson. I am running in Ward 2. I am currently on City Council as Vice Mayor, and so this would be a re-election. With Kyle and Amber, this is my first term on council as well. I am also born and raised here in Wyoming, Casper, and so it's very important to me to just hold true to the values. I've worked in the oil field, I've worked in trucking, I've worked in marketing, and then I've had small businesses, and so I currently own my own real estate company. And so I had served on leadership roles with the state of Wyoming for the realtors. So private property rights are very important to me, and protecting those at all costs. And so that was the reason why I got onto city council, and it has just been a strong desire to make sure that our private property rights are being protected, not being stepped on. And so we've done certain things with the ordinances, getting a handyman license so that handymen who are in the community trolling older folks trying to just get some money. This way they can call the city and get somebody who's licensed, somebody that's more professional and trust that they're not going to be taken advantage of. We've done ordinances regarding hoarding, vehicle hoarding, and things of that nature, so that somebody can actually sell their home and get a good market analysis on it without having somebody else in the neighborhood devalue your property. So these things are just very important to me on council. Thank you.
Thank you, League of Women Voters, for putting this on tonight. Thank you for all of you that showed up. I think it's important that we pay attention to our local politics, and I think it's great that we have a few people here. It'd be nice if the room was full. My name is Ken Dockweather. I'm a almost 25-year resident of Casper. Moved out here when my kids were in grade school. This is where they call home. It's where my grandkids call home. All but one of my kids and all but 3 of my grandkids still call Casper home. I got asked if I had a beef with the city, if that's why I was running. The case is I don't. I think we have a great city. I think we should keep it that way. Part of the reason that I got involved was that 2 days before the deadline, we had 0 candidates in a ward that needed 2 seats filled. And I said, that's a recipe for getting somebody who shouldn't be on council in council, because whoever applies is getting there. I look at politics as an obligation, not an occupation, and I think that I felt an obligation to get in because I think I'm capable and I'm willing, and I think those of us who are capable should, so that we don't end up with people in representative places that should not be. And it turns out we have plenty of candidates in Ward 1, so you get lots of choice, and I think that's a good thing. So.
Hi, my name is Julie Collins Thiel. I am 3rd generation Wyoming and currently enjoy generations 4 and 5. My children are both still here in Casper. My son works for the fire department and my daughter is an entrepreneur like her mom. I am an independent insurance broker. I have been in business in Casper for the past 25 years. I specialize mostly with seniors and specialize in Medicare. So that is what I do for work. I really felt called to get involved in local politics, as I feel like we can make a difference. And like Ken, I believe that we deserve a choice. I believe in common sense, back to basics government. We need to keep government in line, doing what they need to be done and doing it well and doing it efficiently. And that is what I'm here to try and help to do. I believe with my business background, I could be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question will start with Mr. Schriftman. As a reminder, you have a minute on these questions. The first question on the long form is, this question is in regards to city council meetings and public sessions. How do you currently prepare for, engage, and participate in this work?
Thank you for the question. I attend regularly, not only the regular council meetings, but the work sessions where I take a lot of notes and I ask a lot of questions. And I even ask questions of those that come before council asking for money. And that's very important. For instance, Fly Casper Alliance, I have a meeting coming up with them soon. I had additional questions from their presentation. I want to know what's going on. Maybe it's my background being self-employed and also having been an auditor, having been active in politics since I was 13. I ask a lot of questions and I expect to get answers.
Sitting on council currently, obviously I'm at all of the meetings, or very nearly all of them, but in terms of preparation, we get a relatively extensive packet every week, info packet in addition to the agenda and all of the memos related to all the topics. Super critical information in there, and I really try to not only have just skimmed it, but really dug into it, make sure I understand the ins and outs, make sure I understand all the information that's been provided. That's part of being prepared. The other part of that being prepared is attending a variety of additional meetings for the various committees that I sit on, because all of that helps connect the city to the various entities that we need to work well with, and so attending all of the committee meetings to make sure that I can bring relevant information back to the council is part of being prepared for those meetings, as well as monthly meetings with city staff, just to make sure that I'm being as good of a conduit between all of the various interests that I need to balance in my role.
I have not attended any city council meetings, but I do attend a lot of trial, and it takes a lot of tasks to get prepared for any type of engagement that I'm with. As you can see, my notebook is here with me. It's full of my notes and ideas and thoughts, and also different types of information regarding hot topics that I find interesting, so I read through those. So my preparation for a city council meeting will be the same. I'll read all of the packets that are provided, do any background research of my own before I go into the room, and make sure that I'm fully prepared.
It has been a while since I have attended city council meetings. I have shown up to some. I also have observed them online. As far as being there once I'm elected into office, I will thoroughly go through the information, because every decision that I will be helping make will be based on facts in context, not emotionally, so that everything is taken care of based on what the ideas are that are being presented.
Thank you for the question. I have a whole routine. Our packets drop Friday afternoon, and Sunday morning and afternoon I carve out my time to read all the packets, to respond to as many emails as possible, and also any independent research that I feel like needs to get done before the meetings. I don't like showing up to a meeting having learned nothing from the week before. If we have questions or if we're talking about controversial things or complicated issues, I like to do independent research before. As Councilor Pollack stated, we have a number of boards and task forces that we're members of. I'm on the Downtown Development Authority Board, Old Yellowstone District Committee, Casper Housing Authority, Wyoming Association of Municipalities. I serve with Councilor Pollack on the Metro Task Force, and then I'm also on a homelessness coalition. In regards to that, if there's things going on County Commission or some of our surrounding municipalities, I see a councilor from Evansville back there. I like to try and stay in touch with what those guys are doing. And then I take a great deal of pride in showing up to every meeting. I've not missed a single regular meeting or work session meeting. I'd be curious, I see former Mayor Powell in the back, if anyone else has a record that could compare. Thanks.
Sitting on council, I too also have a routine that I do. We get our packets on Friday, so typically Sunday, later afternoon, evening, I sit down and go through the packet, and then on Monday night, I like to kind of go back through it again and then research some things on that packet that I might have questions on. I am currently serving on 8 boards, but as vice mayor, I do have additional meetings in addition to the 8 boards. So we have the meetings every month with the county commissioners and other mayors around the county, and just additional meetings prior to our meetings to kind of figure out what all we're going to be talking about. So it's a lot of quality time in a lot of meetings. So there's a lot of preparation, and then it is to get all the boards information, and then we bring it back to council and then discuss any kind of problems that the boards may be having or any successes that they're having.
I have not been physically to a city council meeting here in town, but I have watched the last several, and you're right, Kyle, you ask good questions, and lots of them, so.
To my colleagues' dismay sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, I've noticed that in a few of them. But I've been watching them just to try and kind of get the feel of it and see where we're at. I've been in regulatory compliance for the last quarter of a century, and so reading, understanding, knowing what things say, and reading for understanding is something I'm pretty good at. I don't know what my routine will be. I'll have to figure that out, but I'm gonna have to have one because I, like some of the counselors here, like to read it ahead of time. I like to know it beforehand, so.
If I'm elected, I promise to do my homework. I'm in the insurance business. I'm good at that part. Got the homework down. I have attended city council meetings in the past. I've spoken in front of the city council meetings in the past. I feel like I'm not heard. Just part of the reason I'm running. So if I'm elected, I promise I will hear you.
So, yes, I've attended council meetings and try to watch over the years. It depends on the issues, such as when we were going through smoking and non-smoking. I led the charge to keep business rights, having been in business here in Casper for a number of years and owning several businesses, whether liquor establishments or just business rights in general. But if elected, I definitely will read the entire packet and be prepared and do the research and information that's needed.
Okay, thank you very much. We are doing a short form question next. So that's 30 seconds, ideally one sentence. We'll defer to Librarian O'Neill on whether it's a sentence or not. So this is a super easy one. Which of our, if you had to pick one, candidate Pollock, which of our city public facilities or services do you appreciate the most?
I'll give a shout out to Metro only because they've been having a really difficult time lately. I'm on the task force, so I'm intimately involved with what's going on in Metro, and they're doing some great work up there in some really tough circumstances.
Oh my gosh, there's so many great ones. I'm gonna probably go with our Parks and Recreation facilities. We have an amazing amount of parks around here, and the staff that keeps them beautiful are amazing, and I think that we have an amazing amount of Parks and Recreation.
I'm gonna say the Parks and Recreation too. It's so nice to be able to walk down by the river. Everything's groomed and taken care of, and it's just a nice place to be for the city.
I don't want to be redundant and say parks again, so I will pick the Ford Wyoming Center because there's lots of great events that go on there, like the Dropkick Murphys concert I went to in February and the Hozier one I will go to in October. And it provides a lot of economic impact to the community, about $25 million. Thank you. Might have butchered it at the end.
So I'm going to say the Ford Wyoming Center too. You know, I think we have a really great team up there, and they're getting a ton of new shows and really just pushing the envelope and trying to just bring in some shows and generate some money. And then in conjunction with the sports ranch, I really think that our event center is just going to be amazing going forward.
Well, the thing I'd miss the most probably has to do with infrastructure, like, you know, if we didn't have any water or sewer anymore. But as far as facilities are concerned, I would probably have to go with the Parks and Rec. I participate in almost all the rec sports that go on in town. In fact, my softball team is warming up right now. Anyway, so I'd have to say that.
Okay, well, I might be a little bit leaning towards our boys in blue. I believe our fire department and our EMS, those guys are incredible. They save lives. Gals too, a lot of women on there. And that would be my favorite.
There's too many to pick from, but I would say infrastructure and sewer and water.
Turn it off. Hello. We have amazing police and firefighters in this community and EMT people, and they need the equipment and the facilities to really do a good job. They do a wonderful job, and we can even do better.
Is this a long one?
Okay, yep, this is back to a long form question, and this question is for Ms. Newmiller. We'll start with you. So 1 minute on this question. What role, if any, should the city have in funding the senior center? What are your thoughts on the senior service special district that will appear on the primary ballot?
This is a tough one. I think our seniors really do need to have the care and the facilities and the services that the city has been helping to provide for many years. I know that they are struggling with funding, and their fundraising is not going well, and they're asking for the mill levy on our taxes on our properties to help support those facilities and those services that are desperately needed for our senior community. I think it's tough. I think that we should go ahead and do it and help them look for other opportunities to try and get rid of that mill levy after a certain number of years.
That is a very tough question. Right now, I think budget-wise, they may need to tighten their belts. I am very supportive of the senior population. However, I'm here because I feel like the city of Casper itself needs to tighten their belts in a lot of different things. We have a lot of good social good politics, and we have to just stay focused more on our infrastructure, our protection, and things that are immediate. I know people want to look down the road, but right now we've got to quit digging deeper. We have to start buckling our belts.
Well, currently, the city already has some financial obligation in the sense that of the recent 1 cent allocation, we did allocate $100,000, is that what it was, for food purchasing over there primarily. I believe we have the same obligation to our seniors as we do to our children, and so there is a certain extent at which the city, I feel like, needs to participate in that. The senior center is a city-owned building, and so every repair over there that's above $750 is something that we have to provide. That's my halfway, yeah? Okay. So, yeah, we already have some financial obligation in that sense. As Dawn said, I do feel like we have catch up to do in a lot of other areas, and so I don't know how much more we could obligate the city, but I think the service district is a fine way to potentially fill that funding gap. If it went on the ballot, I think I would support it personally. And if you have questions about it or you don't understand the need for it, I would ask you to go reach out to Amy Otley. I think they have a town hall this week, so they're doing lots of outreach. So I'd ask you to take advantage of it.
Boy, that's a tough question. You know, I support the seniors, and I just am not for them having the mill levy. And it's just because I believe that we have other things as well, and we've got families and children and just everybody in between. And so I'm hesitant to just provide more to the seniors. However, I do think that this does open up a discussion to maybe see what we could do as the city, but also as a county, that maybe we could come together and actually help our seniors do something and then raise the money to contribute towards them being more successful in their fundraising.
I agree, that's a hard question. I'm with Kyle that our senior adults are as important as our kids, and I think that we need to take care of them. The question is, what's the solution? I think that we in America have gotten accustomed to throw more dollars at it. That'll fix it. Dollars isn't always the answer. And I suspect in this case, dollars is the answer. They need the money, and they're probably doing well with it. But I think that we have to look at what is the real need, and how do we address that real need. And if it's money, then we should find it. But maybe we need to look at somewhere else and not just put more pressure on our constituents. So,
This is a great question. Matt Mead appointed me to serve on the Wyoming Senior Services Board in 2008, and I served 11 years on it, so I'm very, very familiar with the Senior Services Board as well as Meals on Wheels. We oversaw a budget of about $18 million and 39 facilities across the state. I believe that the answer is not necessarily more dollars. I believe transparency for these organizations would be fantastic. A lot of people don't realize that they are federally as well as state funded. There's not a lot of transparency, and there's also a lot of question as the services that our seniors are actually being provided. And so I think that if we took a really deep dive and a look into those books, that we could probably find a lot of very interesting answers, but that's where I'm at on that. So know all about that occupational hazard, here I am.
So I'm strongly in favor of the senior district. There are 9 other senior service districts in the state. It's not something new. This is in the special districts section of state law. Only about 43% of the senior center and Meals on Wheels is covered by federal and state funds. And so the senior center, I will tell you, will definitely have to cut way back if this does not get approved by the voters on the primary ballot, August 20th, is that vote. And it is a 1 mil. We could have gone for 2, but it's 1 mil, and totally in favor of it. And the next town hall is this Thursday at 6:30.
I attended the last town hall meeting, and then I had a meeting with the director, Amy, for about an hour. We went over the financial statements for the last 4 years. And yes, there's a shortfall. However, the state of Wyoming is holding $28 billion of our money without interest in 600 accounts. Now, Amy showed me all the charts of all the grants that she's applying for, but it's really up to the legislature and the governor to release some of those funds so that we can have these community programs continue, because they do great work. However, having taken care of my mom, who had Alzheimer's for 2 years with a wonderful caregiver, and with the help of the long-term care insurance policy I purchased years before, there is also a responsibility if family members can help out as much as possible, and community people. I went to council last year about a helping neighborhood project.
Sorry, thank
Okay,
you.
sorry. I didn't see your sign there.
I think, yeah, the only thing I would add to what's been said already is that we live in an aging community. We are seeing our average age skew older and older as time goes on, and so I see that the burden on our senior services and on the senior center will continue to increase. And so I think we need to be prepared to figure out how we're going to attend to that as a community in the future. I think the city does have some obligation, being that we own the building, and so it's our job to make sure that that stays in good repair and that it continues to be a facility that is usable for the group. We've supplemented that with some 1-cent funding. I think that's a reasonable use of those funds. Beyond that, I think we're going to be hard pressed to find additional money, so I do agree there's other entities that are obligated. If the voters feel strongly that this is an important service to be offered in our community, I hope that they will support the mill as a mechanism. And if not, we'll keep looking, but it's an important service that we need to have in our community.
Okay, short form, so 30 seconds or one very long sentence. This next one, and as a mom of 6, this one is important to me. Are there enough recreational opportunities for our youth in our community? If not, what else should be done? And this question is for Ms. Madrid.
Goodness, I have a granddaughter moving down in the next month. When it comes to the young kids, I am not aware of everything that is available. I do know when my children were growing up here that Casper did have a lot to offer, but at this moment in time, I am not familiar with everything that's available.
Sorry, Joanne, could you give me that one more time? Mm-hmm. I'm halfway through a 3-day fast, so I'm a little foggy.
Sure. So are there enough recreational opportunities for our community opportunities for our youth in our community? If not, what else should be done.
Thank you. I'm a father of a 6-year-old, and I am really pleased with the amount of things to do in Casper. We have twice the amount of park acreage compared to the national average. We have 5 outdoor pools compared to Cheyenne's 1, and so I'm never hurting for things to do outside. There's always room for improvement, but as usual, that typically comes down to staffing and funding. Thanks.
I currently serve on the Parks and Rec Board, and we do hear from all of our constituents and people who come in. And so the answer is actually no, we do not have enough sports and stuff set aside for kids. The sports is continuing to grow every single year here in Casper. So we're desperately needing more baseball fields, soccer fields. We're needing more stuff for the kids to do, because I feel like if we could keep them in sports, then they're staying out of trouble. So I advocate for more sports.
Big advocate for youth activities as a former president of the Casper Midget Football Association. Very much supportive of youth sports and youth athletics. Sad to report that the numbers are down so far this year that there will not be a season for Casper Midget Football in the first time in like 60-some years. Just didn't have the numbers. Anyway, I think overall we do a pretty good job as a city. We got a lot of opportunities. There may be some areas where we're not as strong as some others, but you guys have laid them out pretty good.
Well, I raised my 2 kids here, and now I've got 3 grandkids coming up. And T-ball was fantastic this year. We had a great time. Goat orange shirt. I'm not quite sure what that team were, but they were darling. Anyway, my daughters had a hard time getting my grandkids into swimming lessons, and I believe it is a staffing issue, so maybe we need to work on that a little bit. But as overall, I'm also a big believer in keep them busy, keep them out of trouble. That's a big one.
So I think we've got lots of opportunities, but a lot of those opportunities take funding. And to keep the facilities up, it takes funding. And there's only so many dollars. And so I think all of those different activities keeps our kids busy, and hopefully trying to educate them here. I think we've got great education, but trying to keep them here is the main goal.
Today at Rotary, the Director of Parks and Recreation made a presentation that was very comprehensive. There's a lot to do in this community. However, we have a lot of bullying going on, and we have kids depressed, and we have suicide. So what we really need is more adults to step up and mentor with these kids. Give them values like gratitude and humility, respect, and just keeping them busy is great, but the busy kid that nobody's paying attention to may have a lot of problems.
I think we do a great job with the current rec facilities that we have. They are numerous, as Kyle mentioned, in many areas, but I do think there are some gaps in terms of what we offer. Basketball courts, I've been hearing a lot about those the last a few days as we contemplate some more tennis courts. I think there are some gaps, but I also think overall we have a lot to offer. My main concern when we're thinking about adding to that list is spreading ourselves too thin in terms of being able to maintain them. I want to make sure that if we do offer some amenity, it's well maintained.
So I've raised 3 kiddos here. My daughter was pretty active in private recreation facilities like dance and drama and things like that through the school district. My boys were both very active in athletics through soccer and basketball and other things like that. I think the kids have a lot of great opportunities to get out there, but sometimes I don't know that they know that they are opportunities for them. As the children have aged up, they've lost out on a lot of those opportunities, so it's kind of a yes and a no on that.
Okay, we're back to a long form question, and just a reminder to the audience, you're welcome to get a card from the back, and then if we're not getting to questions that you want to be asked of the candidates, please feel free to get a question to Kylie and she'll bring it up here. Long form question, and we're going to start with candidate Gamroth. If the Prism Logistics proposed gravel mine is approved, what, if anything, would you do to protect the city's investment in Coates Road?
It's a great question. We've already had initial conversations about some sort of maintenance operation agreement because it was while me and my cohorts were on council that we approved a local assessment district, and the city, the county, and the adjacent landowners all pitched in a third to pave a part of Coates Road. It obviously was not designed for those sorts of industrial, commercial type purposes, and so we would absolutely need some sort of agreement in place to protect that investment. Beyond that, if a conditional use permit has been granted, I don't know statutorily what we could do from a policy standpoint. However, I do hope and plan for having this council be involved. Mr. True at Prism Logistics indicated that the county should expect a conditional use permit application in 3 to 6 months, and I expect you'll hear a lot more from myself and the city at that time. Thank you.
As Kyle had stated, that the city and the citizens and the county all came together and did that road. We have been talking already on the council about considering establishing speed limits on the road or weight restrictions. And so we're just a vehicle weight. So we've got a lot of different things happening, and so for the city, we have less involvement than the county does. So the city, we're waiting to see what's happening so that we understand how we need to get involved.
I think I'm not real up to speed on this one, but I do think that the city's involvement is going to be pretty limited as far as how that shakes out and what happens there. But I think that there are some things we have to do to protect that investment on Coates Road. And, you know, how we go about that is going to be, you know, we have to look at all the angles. Is that requiring some upgrades? Is that requiring some help in the maintenance? Is it both? That's just, we're just gonna have to look at that.
I think the city probably needs to pay close attention to what's coming up, and we probably need to handle this as it comes at us. Again, city's not in control of a lot of different things, and I think it's just important that we have clear and concise communication and deal with the issues as they arise.
I think the biggest thing that council could do currently to address it is the weight limit. I think the speed limit also could be structured of such, but the weight limit within the city limits on that road should be of high priority currently. So moving that forward.
When this issue first came up, I drove my car up there to see where this was and how close it is to residents. It's very close to residents. The road, I have a 2008 Ford Focus. I thought the car was going to shake apart. I don't know what they're going to do as far as up and down that road. And I agree, I think part of it, you know, it's a city, so the road at the end, if the weight is too much, maybe the city can do something about it, but we're gonna have to wait and see what ends up. I'm hoping that he can find another location.
For the remainder of this term, and should I be reelected for my next term, I will be supporting every measure, every mechanism that the city can find to mitigate the impacts of that proposed gravel mine, not just the road, but the impacts to the citizens living in that area. I think that you know, we don't know what impacts may be coming down, but I support mitigating impacts to the road. I support the council taking a position to the to the county in opposition to the project, and other mechanisms that we may have to support the citizens in that area and mitigate the damaging impacts that could be coming their way.
I am all with Councilwoman Pollock here. I think that this is a very negative impacting situation on our community, not just for the citizens that live on that road, but also throughout the whole city. It can greatly affect our tourism, the impact that it has in recruiting new businesses and new residents into our town. I think could have a negative impact on that also. In regards to what the city can do, I think our jurisdiction ends where our coverage of this city street ends, going on to the county road out there. So as soon as that hits our pavement, then I think that we need to mitigate and put in as many restrictions as possible so that our city streets are safe throughout the city with those trucks and other mechanics on our city streets.
That's definitely a tough one with what's going on right now. It's impacting a lot of people. I really like the idea of the weight limit on the streets, if we can force that into being. Health-wise is a huge concern. I don't know how many tests have been done. I don't have all the facts and context. But I would think that they would need to have some kind of testing done. The impact is going to be on the breathing from all the dirt roads, like the silica, whatever elements that are involved. And any resources that somebody can come up with that the city could actually do would be great to enforce. However, I think the city will be limited as to how much impact they can have overall.
Thank you. This next question is short form is for Councilwoman Ingebrigtsen. Should landlords be responsible for unpaid utility bills?
No.
That's a sentence.
Is that a sentence?
It is.
Librarian is nodding.
There was an exclamation point at the end of that one.
I tend to agree.
Absolutely, no.
No, and that's an issue I followed and tried to get other landlords and other people involved to try to inform council. Unfortunately, Lisa had to declare a conflict of interest, which is another thing I would like to work on in the legislature when you have a conflict of interest.
Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Sorry, this is short for.
She just
Held up, that was that short, not so red.
5 more seconds, sorry.
I was short.
no.
Whoever made the obligation is responsible for that. So the renter has an obligation to pay, so the property owner should not.
I have yet to be convinced that the landlord should be responsible, but I have supported a better mechanism for collecting unpaid utility fees so that the rest of the ratepayers are not being obligated to make up the deficit.
I don't believe that the landlord should be responsible for it, but somebody has to pay for it, and whatever is not paid falls down onto the people that actually do pay their bills. So there has to be a better mechanism to gain those collections back. Also, there is the unfortunate possibility that the next renter is not able to get utilities at that property, so there needs to be a mechanism in place that will help future renters and also the landlords.
And whomever accrued the fees needs to be responsible, and we do need to have a mechanism that makes sure that they are taken care of so that the landlords are not responsible.
Oh, it's tempting with everyone being on one side. I like being the odd duck, but I would probably tend to agree. On this one, we heard from the community. I felt like pretty strongly on that issue. It was hotly contested. the issue, as Marcia highlighted, is $250,000 in debts were written off, and as she implied, that needs to be absorbed by the rates that we all as responsible ratepayers pay. And so that was the dilemma we were dealt with. We changed city ordinance to allow some more expedited notices to people that were falling delinquent and adjusted some fees and whatnot, but yeah, otherwise, that's all we did.
Okay, time for a long question. And we are going to be asking some questions from the audience now. So thank you, audience members, for submitting these. So we are to candidate Dockweiler. What do you see as the role of the city in addressing demographic trends that have too many of our young people leaving Casper? What can the city do to make Casper a more inviting option for young adults and young families?
So that's a really good question. How do we impact people and get them to stay here? And I think the answer is we make Casper a place that people want to be, a place that's friendly to business, a place that's friendly to families. And I think, one of the things that I think we need to be really conscious of is as a government, what should we be doing to help our citizenry and our businesses alike, our private enterprise, to be successful? Because as our people are successful and as our private enterprise is successful, so will the city be successful. Opportunities is what keeps kids here, and we just need to create more of that. So get out of the way and let private people and private enterprise do their thing.
This one hits really close to home. My son left to teach English in Pahrump, Nevada. It broke my heart. I stood on the driveway and bawled for an hour. It was so embarrassing. But he came home in 5 years. I've been here my whole life. That's what happens. My friends move away. Everybody figures out that the grass isn't greener on the other side, and they come home to Casper. What we can do to help that is keep our housing prices affordable and keep our community clean, keep our kids safe, and really, really work hard as a city government to address the concerns of people as far as bullying and violence and drugs, and keep our streets clean. And it all goes back to our guys that provide us with safety and security.
So livability, definitely, and Casper has so many things going for it. We just, again, the Fort Wyoming Center, people complain about the subsidy, but it is such a generator of tax revenue for the city and the county. And Hogadon, all of the different facilities that the city is actually involved with promote the livability. So I would be a proponent of more if we can afford that moving forward. So that's how I think we keep our kids here.
What we should do, first of all, is keep Casper as Casper. This is a wonderful community. We don't have to be another place. We've got a great place here. We've got wonderful people. And I find out, walking around meeting with people, they went away when they were, graduated high school or college, and then they came back, because this is a great place to live. And as Julie said, the most important thing is public safety. If we have a safe community, we don't have the drug problems that other cities have had. We get a control of the bullying situation that we have currently. I think young people are going to stay. There's just a lot of activity here. It's just a beautiful place to live.
As I mentioned in my opening speech, I have spent many years trying to answer this question, and I wish I could tell you that I had an answer tonight, but in the number of years that we did do work around this issue, I was the president of an organization called Engage that was affiliated with Governor Meade's Endow initiative. And we basically came down to young people want a job opportunity in a field of their interest. They want housing that they can afford, and they want childcare that they can afford. And those are really the three things that we heard come up again and again and again and again. And there are certain things that the city can do. For instance, in terms of affordable housing, we just identified a major cost barrier to development around electrical code that we eliminated. So those things that seem small details can actually impact the cost of development dramatically. And so working to make sure we've eliminated those things where we can, make sure that we're supporting young families here, and trying to support our business community so that they can provide a diverse opportunities for jobs.
So I was one of those people that went away and came back. My husband, my ex-husband graduated with a degree in petroleum engineering, and we moved to Pinedale to work in Jonah Field. And then we came back because we were ready to have our family and to proceed with that. And I think that we need to kind of look at the demographic of the people that are 25 to 40 that we want to have in our community. They're the ones that are starting our businesses, working with our businesses. We need to diversify the businesses that we invite into our city so that those people have the job opportunities to stay here, to raise their families, giving them wonderful childcare that we have throughout our city, and many opportunities for those children to have the recreation and things like that. We need to continue with our safe, clean streets and communities for those 25 to 40-year-olds to come here and raise their families and stay in our communities.
And what I've witnessed also is they leave, they move off to a city, think they're going to have all this fun and it's going to be great, and then they're getting of the age to have children, and it's like, I want to raise my kids in a place where people care about each other, it's safe, there's good education, and that's what's important to them, and I think that's what brings them back after they leave. Now, to keep them, they gotta go check things out. We all have our time. But what is great about Casper is they come back home so that they can raise their kids here.
Like Councilor Pollack said, it's a question that youth brain drain has been a topic. I know all the way up to the executive level for probably decades at this point. She was president of Engage, and I tried to stay very involved with that organization when it was around. I was liaison to the Casper Youth Council. The former director is out here, so thanks for attending, Elisa. She especially, I showed up to the meetings, but she especially lifted a lot to try to get the youth engaged and advocating for issues that were important to them. And we did have some limited success. They got involved with things that I also think are important. We mentioned rec amenities and safe streets and clean streets, and I agree with all that, but also things like the non-discrimination ordinance. It was a pretty controversial topic, but it's been in place for 2 years now. There's been no abuse, and that was one of the few issues that the youth were really ramped up and engaged about. So that's why I'm supportive of those sorts of initiatives. It's why I've testified to the Joint Judiciary Committee in regards to cannabis, because that's an issue that a lot of youth have very different perspectives on, and I think we could be doing a lot better in regards to having an evidence-based approach. Thank you.
I move families here, and so, and I move them out as well. And the one thing that I do know is that the reason why families are moving to Casper is because the number one thing that they say is for safety. They're moving out because of lack of jobs. What we need to do to help with the housing is to get the state involved into helping to reduce some of the land so that we can build some more affordable houses to try to keep those housing prices down. And so that would help. And then also give better incentives towards buyers and home buyers and sellers to try to help move them to kind of help. I think we do have a lot of older people that are in homes because it's more expensive to get into a smaller home right now than it is to stay in your big home. So we've got a lot of things that we can do to kind of help, and we need to just keep this conversation moving along.
The next question is a short question, and it is for Ms. Collins-Thiel. And it is going to be rapid fire here, so try to keep it in 30 seconds.
I'm ready.
What, in your opinion, are the two most pressing issues facing the city of Casper? We did you dirty, so we'll give you the full 30 seconds and or 2 sentences.
Thank you very much. I believe that the two most important things facing Casper right now is the rezoning issues and the EMS and the police station union. I lost my words. Anyway, brief. There you go. Those are the two.
I believe probably a pressing issue in my mind is trying to move the 6 cent forward so that we can prove to the voters, the Casper voters, what can be done with that 6 cent.
Spending and taxes as a contributor to especially older people on a fixed income that are dealing with inflation at the same time. Now, inflation increases sales tax revenue, okay? But doesn't help somebody that can't afford to fix their car or get groceries. And that's a major concern.
I would say the first one would be deferred maintenance on city facilities and the result of underfunding maintenance initiatives on infrastructure and facilities for a good number of years. And the second, I would say, is a issue around health and mental health and its manifestation in homelessness and youth violence and some of the other negative impacts of that we're seeing.
I think right now, the 5th cent becoming permanent to help with the infrastructure and keeping that funded and up to date for our infrastructure that is starting to fail, and also the homelessness situation in the downtown area.
I think infrastructure, the possibility of it deteriorating without the upkeep, as well as, of course, my mind just went blank. I had something else. But the infrastructure is very important. Oh, and the increase in taxes. That is, with people on limited budgets, a very serious thing to take into consideration.
Of the two issues, my first one would be, as Councilor Pollack stated, deferred maintenance. We're an estimated $100 million behind in our streets, $40 million in our stormwater infrastructure. We got $25 million, I think, in wastewater improvements that are needing to come up here soon. And so our public buildings, 140-ish, they're all falling behind in capital repairs. So deferred maintenance, certainly. And then I probably would have said mental health also, but Metro, I mean, things are really dire up there. They've been dire for several years, and so kind of also in line with the 6 cent, we really need to get a new building up there for our sake and for the animals' sake.
I'm going to agree with Councilors Pollack and Gamroth. Our deferred maintenance is poorly lacking. And then the second thing would be, I would say, would be homelessness and the mental health issue.
I would also go with the maintenance. I think we need to get on board with looking at a longer term budget and getting that fixed. I don't think that a 6 cent is necessarily the answer. Again, I don't know that dollars always fixes it. And another penny sounds like not much to be fully open. I've voted for the 5th cent every time it's come up because I think we've done a good job with it. But a 6 cents is another 20% increase in sales tax. People don't. It sounds a lot worse when you say 20% increase. So.
Okay, we're back to candidate Sweeney for a long form answer. So this has popped up just in some of the answers that you've just given. What solutions, if any, would you recommend to relieve the issues surrounding homelessness in Casper, and what entities are a part of those solutions?
So, complex question. There's no simple solution or answers, but I've been working with different groups on the issue and trying to find some different solutions, whether it's temporary housing. The rescue mission is full, but there's more parts to that. although also with our youth homeless. I think we were up to 600 and some students. At the beginning of the school year, it was around 300 kids were couch surfing. And so all of those things take dollars, and I feel it's a role of the city to continue to work on these issues, and that will be part of my job, I feel, if elected.
Homeless people are homeless for several reasons. Some had a bad situation in their lives. Maybe they've had some drug abuse or PTSD. Other people are just dependent. I have run into people, not only here, but in other places in the country, that people come up and ask you for a handout. And when you direct them to a place like the Wyoming Mission, they kind of walk away, or they tell you, oh, they won't let me in there. Well, because there's rules. People have to step up and try to be responsible and take some forward steps. And if we can create a program that continues like the Wyoming Mission to get people to start taking personal responsibility and change their lives around. I was involved in a program for 30 years in Philadelphia, and met a lot of the homeless people, became friends, and I know that they're struggling.
I think there are multiple areas that have to be working in tandem to address this issue. One of them is our city ordinances, which we've been looking at over the last number of years, making sure that our ordinances are giving our police department the tools that they need to be able to address what they're seeing real time on the streets. That's one element. Second element, I think, is what happens in our courts. There's some pilot programs happening around the state right now, some with diversion in mind, some mental health treatment in mind, that I think does folks a lot more good than throwing them in jail and having all of us pay for them at the rate of $114 a day or whatever it is now. 147, yeah, okay. Had the bargain rate, I guess. 147 per day. So I think that's there. And then close partnership with service providers across the community. I think it really takes all of those things working in tandem. We're starting to see some of that collaboration, which is really heartening. And I think the city can serve the role of being that conduit and the place where this issue is discussed and kind of coordinated.
So homelessness is a serious problem in our downtown area. When I leave work at night, sometimes it's not safe, and I encounter some individuals that I am not comfortable being alone with. I think that we as a community need to come together, and we need to talk to our rescue mission, of course, our churches, other nonprofit places that we can get some help for these individuals, poverty resistance, job training, WBI, Wyoming Counseling Center. All of these entities need to come together and come up with a solution to help these individuals that are suffering with homelessness, whether it be an addiction, mental health, drugs, alcohol, laziness, whatever it is that's putting them in this situation. They need to have that help. And I hope that we can find a solution for everyone.
Ideally, the community coming together and working with people is ideal. That would be great. Another part of the whole thing, and yes, there's going to be the substance abuse, there's going to be the emotional struggle, who knows what trauma some of the people have been through, but there's also individual accountability. And without somebody realizing they're accountable for where they are at that moment in time, it doesn't change their behavior. We have, unfortunately in this country, a lot of social good politics that have enabled people not to be responsible for themselves. I do agree there are those that need help, but not everybody's in that boat unless they choose to be.
Well, 2 minutes is not nearly enough time to talk about such a complicated issue, but as I mentioned earlier, I'm sorry, how much time is it? Well, I better be real quick then. Because of my service on the Downtown Development Authority Board, I had heard from lots of downtown business owners that they were having issues with this as early as last year, or even 2 years ago, I believe. And so I had asked our community development director to put together a task force. Now we have a homelessness coalition task force that's been meeting for several years. Lots of local stakeholders around, Natrona County Collective Health Trust, Central Wyoming Counseling Center, WBBI, Casper Housing Authority, the Mission. So they're all working together to address a multitude of issues. Transportation is a huge one. Casper offers services like CWCC, like WBI, that are not offered elsewhere in the state. When people come here for those services, there needs to be a plan to get them back home, and there needs to be assistance from our neighboring communities to get them back home. We have a huge influx of Native Americans from Fremont County right now, and so we're working with Central Wyoming Counseling Center is going to be doing twice-a-week trips back to and from Fremont County so that we can get those folks back to their home community if they've come here for services. I'll stop there, but if you have questions about it, happy to talk to you afterwards.
As Councilor Gamrell said, I think that the biggest issue is that once they were bused here, although we were not asking for bus loads of people, they were still getting bused here. And so then it left them here without any transportation back. So that has been the biggest hurdle, is trying to find somebody who's going to give them transportation back to wherever that they got bused from. I would like to see the state somehow get involved to see if there's any way that we could stop the other buses from Colorado and everybody else coming here, and then stop the buses from Fremont County. It has been detrimental on our infrastructure, and with 60,000 people, we cannot support this, and so it has been hurtful to us, and it has caused us all to feel very unsafe in our downtown area.
Here's what I do know. I don't know the answer, but I think that in the business I'm in, we do a thing called a root cause analysis. And I think the first thing we got to do is figure out, why are these people being homeless? And I suspect it's a handful of reasons, but let's find the prominent ones, or the prominent one or two, and let's go to work on trying to solve that issue. And let's don't just treat them as homeless, but let's take care of the issue that's making them homeless.
I agree. People are people. Sometimes they need a handout. Not a handout, hand up. We need a hand up. Maybe winter will help. Buses, road closures, maybe. I'm being facetious. This is a very, very difficult issue, and our police are doing everything that they can, and I believe the city needs to open it up to more church groups, more charity groups, more people in the community. We have a great community. Did you guys know that Casper was rated the #1 most generous community in the country? And we need to stop advertising that. I'm just saying.
Okay, this is the last question before your final minute-long wrap-up. So this is a short question. We'll give you 30 seconds. What role should the city play, if any, in creating a vibrant downtown experience? And this question is for Mr. Shribman.
Okay. We have a great downtown business environment, but there are vacant properties, and then of course the situation with the homeless. I've talked to merchants in town that people are hanging out in the alleys around their business. One of the things that I will do, if I have the honor of being elected to council, is to meet individually with each of the business people downtown, find out what their main challenges are. But as far as economic development, there's two things: lower taxes and less regulation.
I think the role that the city should take is to make sure that our infrastructure is well taken care of down there, particularly for pedestrians, so that pedestrians can get out and enjoy downtown. Additionally, I think we've been able to seek out grant funding opportunities and leverage some of those to help pitch in for things like Davis Street Station, which I think has gone a long way to catalyze downtown. I don't think those are things that we can fund ourselves, those types of developments, but we can certainly be an entity that helps to look for grant funding and help support those types of efforts.
I think the main role that the city of Casper needs to focus on in the downtown development would be our code and ordinances and making sure that those are in proper working order so that all of those are met so that all of our citizens are safe and we have good infrastructure and smooth traffics downtown.
And the infrastructure is huge, safety is huge, and being able to get around downtown without just feeling like something's gonna happen to you, just the safety especially.
Well, as I said, I'm on the Downtown Development Authority Board, I'm on the Old Yellowstone District Committee Board, and I try to attend the Downtown Casper Business Association meetings when I can, so and I just live downtown. Me and my family spend a lot of time down there, went to the Alien Ant Farm concert on Saturday, it was awesome. So as far as some of the things that we could be doing, you might have noticed if you spend a lot of time downtown that you might have gotten a ticket, and maybe you've gotten used to not getting that, but we just recently allocated funding for a community service officer to turn over those parking spots, because that's the #1 complaint that we hear from downtown business owners is people staying in those spots too long. That's it.
To make a downtown vibrant, it would require rooftops. And so I'm all for putting more rooftops downtown with other storefronts and just make it a multi-use and make it a fun environment.
I think Casper's done a really good job with our downtown, and I think that a big piece of that is private enterprise. I think private enterprises donate a lot to that, and I think that if we encourage that via ordinances or cleaning up some of the stuff that would maybe impede that, I think that's the key. Let private enterprise do what it does best.
Lots of festivals, lots of stuff going on downtown every single weekend. It's amazing. It's so much fun. That being said, I did have an office in Market Square for lots of years, and I did give it up simply because of the safety issue. You know, I'm a woman, and I work late sometimes, and coming home after dark and not being able to get to the parking lot without feeling like if I have to mace somebody isn't a lot of fun. So I think it all boils down to helping our police and keeping things clean and safe.
So we used to own the Wonder Bar and several other storefronts downtown. So I stayed involved, after selling all of that, stayed involved with the Downtown Casper Business Association, still am a member, still go to the monthly meetings. David Street Station has helped incredibly, but it's got to be a partnership with the city of Casper to keep that alive, and Downtown Development Authority.
Okay, as Joanne said, it's now, you each receive a minute for any closing remarks, and you can use that minute however you like, whether it's to address something that's come up in the discussion tonight, or closing remarks that you want to be sure that the voters know. As you kind of think about that, I do want to just remind those who are watching via YouTube and in the audience, and really everyone, that early voting begins July 23rd until August 19th, and then the primary is on August 20th. And you can always go to the Vote 411 site that Kylie mentioned, that has the League of Women Voters, the results from the surveys and information about candidates. So with that, we'll turn it over to candidate Pollock to begin our 1 minute closing remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for hosting this, to the League of Women Voters and the Natrona County Public Library, and a special thanks to all of you for spending your evening this way. I know talking about politics is not always the nicest way to spend a Monday evening, but I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and listen to all of us. It has been an honor to serve in this role. I really enjoyed it. I believe that local government is the last bastion of American democracy, so I'm feeling, I get very sentimental talking about local government because it's closest to the people. I'm representing my friends and neighbors. I get the opportunity to meet amazing people, hear their stories, hear what I could do to make their lives better in Casper, and then actually go do something about it, which is truly, I think, the best part of serving. And so with that, I invite you to get in touch if there's any questions I did not answer tonight that you would like to hear more from me on. And otherwise, I would just appreciate your vote and the opportunity to serve another term.
Thank you again to everyone for coming out tonight. I appreciate each of you taking your time and energy and your thought processes to come and listen to all of us drone on about some of the same things, but it is very important for our community that you get your education about every candidate on the ballot. So I appreciate you taking that time and being interested in these situations. I do appreciate and would value each one of your votes. I am available at any time to discuss any of the issues, and I know that our families need to be taken care of, and I believe that I am the candidate that will have a positive impact on our council. Again, thank you to the League of Women Voters and the Natrona County Public Library. Thank you.
And I'm going to say ditto, thank you to everybody who took the time to come out. I'm going to end with a situation that happened a while back when my daughter was a teenager, who now has teenage my granddaughters. She came home one day after being in a meeting with a group of peers, some of the most popular kids in school, and she came home and she tells me, "Mom, I love you." And I'm like, "What do you want?" She said, "No." She goes, "I come home, I have food in my refrigerator, our water's on, we have electricity, and all these friends that I thought had the coolest lives with the best clothes, they have all the outdoor fun stuff, they go home and they don't have water and electricity. The show was what was important," and she learned a very valid lesson. And as a community, we need to learn that lesson as well. It can't all be all show. We have got to take care of the basics. Thank you.
To reiterate the previous speakers, thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting, the library for the venue, and again, I always, as Ken mentioned, it'd be great to see a full house, but I know that's not always how it goes, but I appreciate you all showing up this evening. I've gotten a lot of satisfaction out of my tenure on council. It has been an honor, it has been a privilege, it's a responsibility I take very seriously, and I've tried to conduct myself in a manner that is worthy of y'all's respect and your votes. If you didn't get the answers to questions you were looking for this evening, or if you'd like to talk more about anything related, we only took a very brief dive on many of these topics, so I would encourage you. I love talking about city stuff, so if you see me at the store, please grab my arm. Otherwise, kgamroth@casperY.gov is my email address. 439-4069 is a phone number you can reach me. And then I have a Facebook page, Kyle Gamroth, Casper City Council Ward 2. I hope you follow the page. I post things that I think are important there, and I do a lot of outreach there. And just appreciate you all showing up again this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up. I have enjoyed my time on council, and I'm so excited for what is to be coming forward for Casper. I think that we have a tremendous amount of great things coming. And so from our infrastructure, for everything, I think that we've laid a lot of groundwork and some positive things coming forward, and I am just super excited about to see what's going to happen in the next 4 years, and I would truly appreciate your vote. Thank you.
I think I mentioned earlier, I think we have a great city here in Casper, and I think we need to keep it that way. I'm excited to have the opportunity to serve on the city council. I think the good news that came out of tonight is you get several good candidates. I mean, we have an overwhelming number from Ward 1, so you got a good look at our ward. But anyway, would appreciate your vote. More than happy to talk. Come by and sit down on the front porch and visit about things. I've got an email address. It's docweather.4.casper@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to respond to any questions you got. And I don't know this stuff like some of these guys that have been on, but I will learn.
We have a great community here. I'm so proud and so honored to be a part of it. Come by my house. I'm at 2030 South McKinley Street. I work at home. I am on pants strike, so I'll probably be in a muumuu. My metamorphosing into Mrs. Roper, for the older ones of us understand what that means. But I will always have my muumuu on, so come on by. We can sit on the porch. I always got a cup of coffee. My telephone number is 258-4103. We probably have some difficult things coming up, but I know that if we all get together as a community, we can pull together and we can do this, and everything's going to be fine.
So, again, thanks to the League of Women Voters, I would be honored to serve on City Council. I believe I have things to offer and could offer a moderate voice. I believe I've got, have a lot of different experiences, including statewide, that I can bring some value. I also would say that you've heard from some of the incumbents, and I would ask you to highly consider voting for those incumbents, because I personally believe they've done a great job. And no matter what you think of me as a person, accept that for what it's worth. But I really would be honored to serve with some of these folks and all of the incumbents, frankly.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I just want to mention public engagement. Public engagement is not government officials telling you what they're doing. It's you telling us what you want and what you want us to do. I've gone around and talked to a lot of people, and they confirmed what I was fearful of. I go to council meetings, many nights I'm the only one there besides the wonderful staff and people there who are making presentations for your tax dollars to be spent on their programs, which is great. But people have told me that they're so frustrated they don't go to council meetings anymore. And although I really appreciate anybody serving on council, because it's a real time commitment and a commitment of their energy and their thoughts. But public engagement is going to be one of my main focuses. And I've promised my constituents in Ward 2, I'm going to come around and ask you questions after the election, as well as before.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great, thank you all so much. Thank you everyone who's running for our city council. It really takes engaged citizens who are willing to spend their time in order to make our community work. So we really appreciate your willingness to be public servants. And I also want to thank everyone who showed up this evening and everybody who's watching on YouTube, because that's a great way to be engaged in your community and to make sure that you are paying attention to what's going on and that your voice is being heard. I want to give a plug for the League of Women Voters. We are a nonpartisan organization, and it is a great way to get engaged and to be involved. That we are, membership is open to both men and women, age 16 and up. We have our roots in the women's rights movement, getting the right to vote in 1920. So we're a great national organization, and here locally we do things like put on these wonderful candidate forums. We have another candidate forum coming up next week on Monday for the county commissioners. Encourage you all to come out to that one as well. And really appreciated those great audience questions. I think you guys are excellent question makers, so you should show up to our league meetings and we'll have even better questions when we start off. And encourage you all to check out our online voter guide, Vote 411. If you have any questions that weren't answered this evening, our candidates are welcome to put up their contact information on that voter guide, so you can reach out to them directly to ask those questions. And early voting starts July 26th, our primary August 20th, so be sure to get out there and vote. Thank you so much.